I didn't check. Okay, good evening. We will have a very short Bhagavad-Gita class. I probably should have canceled this class. They're having a baby shower upstairs for Vera and Diana. And I kind of didn't realize the clash in time. So I didn't cancel the class, but I probably should have. And most of the people who would participate in this class, they're upstairs also. But since some have come, then we will have a small discussion. We're studying Bhagavad-Gita chapter 9. Today we will look at verses 27 and 28. So in the previous verse, Krishna wanted to express the ease of devotional service. So he spoke, Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhakti apayachati. Tadaham bhakti uparitam ashnami prayata atmana. So Krishna said, for those who offer me with genuine devotion, a real devotee, they offer me fruit, flower, water, leaf, then I will accept it. Prayata atmana, they offer it with pure minds, or ritualistically pure bodies also, that was mentioned. We discussed this. And the idea is that bhakti is very easy. The only qualification is that you should be a real devotee. Not that you are incidentally pleasing Krishna because you happen to do something that he likes, but with the intention to harm Krishna. Sometimes demons like Chanura Mushtika, these are demons that fought with Krishna in the wrestling arena. So they brought pleasure to Krishna because Krishna also likes to fight. But their intention was not to bring pleasure to him, their intention was to kill him. So they're not devotees, even though they happen to please Krishna because he likes to fight. So the idea here is that whatever is offered with the intention to please Krishna, with no other motivation than to please Krishna, then even if one gives such a person, such a devotee, gives even fruit, flower, water, leaf, then Krishna will accept it. It's very easy. So having glorified the ease of devotion, verse 27, 28, Arjuna may ask what type of devotion he is to perform, because the activity of devotion mentioned here in verses such as Satetam Kirtanyantomam Yatam Tashchadrita Vrata, this was mentioned in 9:14, which means my devotees are always singing about me. They're always endeavoring for like-minded sadhu sangha. They perform vratas like Akadashi vratas there. Ananya Shintayantomam Yejana Pariparsita is another verse. They're always aspiring for a relationship with me. They exclusively give their minds to me. So in this way, these acts of devotion don't really have any relationship to the practical world. Arjuna is a practical man. He's a warrior. He's fighting on the battlefield. So what type of devotion is he to perform? Earlier, Krishna had also mentioned to Arjuna in chapter 8, Tasma sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhicha. So he says, you should think of me, mam anusmara, at all times, tasma sarveshu kaleshu. Because the question was, how is one to think of you at the time of death? So Krishna says, whatever thoughts are there throughout your life, those thoughts will inform your final thought at death. Tasma, therefore, you should think of me at all times, so that at the time of death you will also be able to think of me. Mama Nusmana, and just by thinking of Krishna, bhakti is accomplished. Devotion is accomplished simply by thinking about God. But there Krishna says, Yudhacha, and you also fight. Because Arjuna may say, I like this, just think about you, I'll sit here nicely in the forest or wherever, and I just think about you and accomplish devotion. But then Krishna said, Yudhacha, and you also fight. So what type of bhakti is Arjuna to perform? He's heard about devotion in this chapter 9. We heard about the ease of devotion in the previous verse. But what type of devotion is Arjuna to offer to Krishna as a warrior? So this question is coming up. You understand the question? Otherwise, these acts of devotion have really nothing to do with material engagement whatsoever. You can accomplish bhakti just by being in your house, hearing and chanting and remembering Krishna. No need for working in the practical world and so on. And certainly, certain renounced devotees, they do that also. They just exist like that. If you go to the holy dhams in India, holy places, then they exist like this. They just live offering obeisances to pictures of Krishna, singing about Krishna. They don't do anything else. But Arjuna cannot do that because he is working in the world. So the question is coming, what type of devotion he should offer? That question may come. So in 2 verses, Krishna wants to speak about this also. For those devotees who are working in the world, and they may not have adhikar, or perhaps they're in a position where they need to set an example for the world, such as the case with Arjuna, that they cannot just go to some holy place and just be lost in singing and offering obeisances to Krishna. They have practical duties to perform in the world, you understand? So this is perhaps somewhat relevant to all of us. Unless you're all ready to go to a holy place and just sing. You ready to do that? No. You want to do it?
Question.
Okay. Yes, what is question? Yeah.
So Arjuna says that if you are the ultimate, and if the goal is to meet with you, or come one with you, I can sit and meditate and do bhakti and achieve that, which is a kind of yoga, which is a path.
Yeah.
Or he's doing these things, like killing his own family and the war and stuff like that. Krishna still tells him now that this is why, this is the purpose of your life, or this is why you were born, to set an example and to stand up for something.
Okay.
And he also says that both are the right path. There's no right path. There's no one path which is right. But how does one find what is the right path for themselves?
Yes. The question is, how does one find what is the right path for themselves? So Krishna has spoken of many paths in Bhagavad-Gita, primarily karma yoga. He doesn't really elaborate on Jnana yoga, but it is indicated in certain verses of the Gita, Jnana yoga or Sankhya yoga path. He's also described Ashtanga yoga path or Dhyana yoga, and then Bhakti yoga path. So the question is, so many paths are there. How does one know what is the right path for them? So in the earlier statement in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 verse 47, Krishna says, I guess it's a famous verse amongst the Indian population. Karmani eva dikhariste, karma paleshu kadachana. This verse is famous. So Krishna says there, karmani eva adhikaraste, that you certainly have adhikar for karma. Karmani means actions, but it refers to karma yoga path in that context. So how to understand what path is for one has to look at their qualification. The word for qualification or eligibility is adhikar. Just like if you want to go to some nice school, you have to have certain qualification to enter. You cannot just say that I like Harvard, I'll show up and say, hey, I want to go here. They're just like, who are you? Isn't it? They want to know what is your eligibility for coming here. So in a similar way, there is eligibility for these different paths of yoga. And in modern times, this topic is not taken up so much by those who teach them, that there's actually a different eligibility for these different paths of yoga. So because of time, we will not elaborate too deeply on these, but these three paths, particularly karma yoga, Jnana yoga, and bhakti yoga, are juxtaposed by Krishna himself, not in Bhagavad Gita, but in the later text, Srimad Bhagavatam. When Krishna is speaking to his devotee Uddhava, he directly juxtaposes these three paths next to each other and discusses them in terms of qualifications for these paths. So in short, those who are suffering from the beginningless ignorance. So jivas in this world are said to be suffering from beginningless ignorance. They don't know who they are. They don't know what is God, Paramatma. So because of that, they have adhikar for karma yoga path. And the karma yoga path is considered somewhat of a gateway path to higher realization. a Gyan yoga path or a karma yoga path or bhakti yoga path. So one, as we've heard in Bhagavad-Gita so far, the first 6 chapters, that when one's subtle body is purified by practice of karma yoga, then Jnana becomes manifest. And the word here, Jnana, means the awareness of the difference between consciousness and matter. So at the present moment, we don't have that awareness. We've heard it perhaps many times. You are not this body. You are consciousness inside the body, but you don't feel like that. I don't feel like that. Do you feel like that? I feel like a body. Especially I've been sick the last few days, so I really feel like a body. So there needs to be purification through Karma Yoga Mark. This is mentioned by Krishna in 11th Canto, Chapter 20. So when one is purified and Jnana is manifested, awareness of the difference between consciousness and matter, then they have qualification for Gyan Mark in the path of Gyan, the Jnana Yoga path. There, the adhikar basically is a kind of callousness towards everything material, because they kind of see the world for the illusion that it is. So they become, naturally, with such a vision, they become quite callous to it. And so that callousness toward everything material gives them qualification for Gyan Mark. But it is callousness not based on you breaking up with your boyfriend or girlfriend. Sometimes when that happens, what is the purpose of existence? And there's nothing in life. But that is temporary condition. After some time, again, they'll go back to trying to enjoy the world. But this qualification for Gyan is a callousness based on purification through Karma Yoga Mark. And Gyan is manifested. So they know this difference between self and the world. And the world is kind of illusory in the sense that it's temporary and not ultimately the self. And so they become kind of callous towards all these material. They qualify for Gyan Yoga. Then for the devotee, if he is not too attached and not too detached, and he has faith in hearing narrations of Bhagavan, then they qualify for Bhakti Yoga path. The basic qualification for Bhakti path is Shraddha. Yashraddha Makatasu. Krishna says, those who have faith in my kata, topics about me. That is a basic qualification for Bhakti Mark, Bhakti Yoga path. And they're not too detached and not too attached. So those who have beginningless ignorance, they are too attached to the material world and need purification. And those who are too detached are like the Gyanis, they are callous towards everything material. But the devotee should not be too attached nor too detached, because he will use objects of this world for serving Krishna. So if he sees the whole world in a callous way, then that's not useful for service to Krishna. And obviously if he's too attached, then he's also not serving Krishna, he's trying to serve his own self. So main qualification for Bhakti Yoga path is Shraddha, faith in topics of Bhagavan. But they're not too attached, not too detached. So by examination of one's qualification, then they can make out some path that they should take. It is not that, I like the way this one sounds, I'll follow it. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to see what is your eligibility for the path. So our teacher, Srila Prabhupada, he often criticized yoga in modern times, yoga path today, because people don't really follow the yoga mark. They do asana practice. That is very popular. But they don't follow yoga mark. It's Ashtanga yoga. Ashtanga means 8 limbs. So there are 8 aspects to this yoga process. And out of these 8 aspects, the first 5 angas, which are called yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, and pratyahara, these are defined by Patanjali as external. The internal or the real purpose of yoga path are the last 3 angas. Dhyana, dharana, samadhi, which means meditation, basically, different states, different degrees of meditational absorption. But if you observe modern yoga industry, no one seems that interested in meditation as discussed in yoga mark. That's because they don't have qualification for it. So they're interested in basically making the body healthy, maybe, or fit, or looking good for their Instagram, photo shoot. Many Instagram yoga things are there. So they want to look very nice for that. So they do yoga asana, but they don't do yoga mark. And they're also not attracted to yoga mark because they don't have eligibility for it. Similarly, they're not attracted to Jnana mark because there's no eligibility. They're They're usually not attracted to bhakti marg also because they don't have the faith. They don't like the idea of everything for Krishna. That's a little disturbing when you have material ego. And they're not attracted to karma marg, even though they actually technically could qualify for that because they have beginningless ignorance. But because they don't hear from any teacher who is teaching these things, so they also don't know about that. They also don't follow that. So basically, they just do whatever they want. So for such persons, they will perish, actually. Shastra vidyam ushtregya vartate kama karataha. Krishna says those who reject Shastra Vidhi. So Shastra itself is it's called as a kalpataru, which means like a desire tree. Nigama kalpataru galitam palam. The Nigama, the Vedic literatures, they're like a desire tree. So desire tree means whatever desire you have, you come before the desire tree, it can fulfill that desire. So the Shastra has many instructions for a full spectrum of people with their different qualifications, because Shastra understands people have different eligibility. So according to the eligibility, Shastra will give instruction. So they say, if you're eligible for this instruction for you. If you have this eligibility, this instruction for you. If you have that eligibility, this instruction for you. But which path? But now Shastra Vidyam Usregya, now modern time, they throw out Shastra Vidhi. They don't believe in Shastra anymore. And by Shastra, we mean Vedas, Vedic canon, such as the Itihasa Puranas like this. So they don't believe in Shastra Vidhi anymore. They only believe in Deepak Chopra and Tony Robbins and all these people. They don't believe in Shastra anymore. So they throw out, what is this Shastra also? They vartate kama karata. They do as they like. Because now you have no governing principle to guide you. You don't accept that you may be limited by your limited eligibility. So you do as you like. Vartate kama karata. Nasasadem avapnoti nasukam na paramgata. So Krishna says such a person will not get any happiness. Maybe that's a confirmation. Nasasadem, they will not get any perfection. They will not get any happiness. They will not achieve the supreme destination, paramgati. So one has to understand what is their eligibility. And usually that understanding comes also by approaching a guru, a teacher. They will say, just like Krishna is telling Arjuna, karmaneva adhikarasya, you have adhikar for this. Of course, that was in the beginning of the Gita. And Krishna is establishing a certain point there. It has a certain context. But basically, he's saying you have this adhikar. So the teacher, this is a very standard practice in Eastern philosophical traditions, practically all of them. But you have to approach a teacher. And teacher has full knowledge of the spectrum. He can see the student. He said, this person has this adhikar. He can give instruction accordingly. So although all the paths have their various viability and usefulness for moving progressively towards spiritual life, but you have to see what you have eligibility for. And so that is the challenge in the modern day, because it's hard to come in contact with bona fide knowledge. Or even if you come in contact with bona fide knowledge, then it's hard to believe in it because we are unfortunate. Manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya upadruta. This age of Kali, we're in the age of Kali, Kali Yuga, you've heard this before. Kali Yuga means the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. So we're in this particular age, Kali Yuga. So here in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the main literature of our Vedanta tradition, in the very outset, the sages said these people of Kali Yuga, they are short-lived. Even if they're not short-lived, they're lazy. Even if they're not lazy, Manda Matayo, they have, they're kind of like stupid. Like their intelligence is compromised in so many ways. Even if their intelligence is not compromised, Manda Bhagya, this is the word I'm thinking. Manda Bhagya means they're unfortunate because they don't come in contact with proper knowledge. And even if they come in contact with proper knowledge, Upadruta. Upadruta means they are always disturbed. They're always afflicted by something mental, physical. So even if they have some proper knowledge, they're not able to apply themselves. So in Kali Yuga, there are many obstacles actually to genuine spirituality. First obstacle is we throw out the Shastra Vidhi because we believe more in these other people who are coming up with some apparently new ideas. So that is first problem there. The second problem is that, maybe the overconfidence in ourselves. We don't analyze our actual eligibility for things. Another problem, we don't go to any teacher to find out. And even if we do, we ourselves are so disturbed we can't take advantage. So there are many obstacles, but if you want to find out the proper path, then as Gita recommends, 434, Tadviti pranipatena, pariprashnena sevaya, upadekshanti te jnanam, garinas, tattvadarshi. Then one should approach a tattvadarshi, means one who is seeing the tattva, the reality. And they should become disciple, basically, as the verses say. Pranipatena means to, literally means to like offer obeisances in the ground. And pariprashna, answer inquiry all around. And sevaya, render service to the Guru. And in this way, the Guru can help give enlightenment on your eligibility for some particular path. Our teacher Srila Prabhupada said mostly in Kali Yuga, people will not be able to develop eligibility for Gyan Mark or Yoga Mark. Because that eligibility is very, very, the callousness towards everything material. They'll be callous towards their cell phones. What is this cell phone business? They're callous towards families and relationships in general. So that doesn't even sound very attractive to us. Does that sound attractive to you? You have family?
Not here in India.
Not here in India. You probably love them, right?
Sorry?
You like them?
Of course.
So then Gyan Marg is not for you. Because Gyan Marg means you become callous to all these things. So in Kali Yuga, if anyone can get eligibility for any path, then Bhakti Yoga path is very suitable for them. Of course, that still requires faith in hearing about Bhagavan. But basically, in Kali Yuga has kind of arrested the effectiveness of most of the paths that have been taught previously in previous ages. But because of Bhakti's transcendence, it transcends the effects of Kali Yuga also. And so, although other paths have been arrested by the age, Bhakti still functions very nicely because it is actually beyond matter. So if anyone has adhikar for making progress in any path, the Bhakti Yoga path is there. So one should follow this Bhakti Yoga. And that's what we've been hearing so far, especially in this chapter 9. We've been studying chapter 9. So the encouragement is you should do Bhakti Yoga. That's what we've been hearing this whole chapter. And everyone should be doing Bhakti Yoga. That's answering your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to answer this comprehensively as I could. So then the question is coming, what type of bhakti I should perform? And particularly Arjuna is a man, as I mentioned, he's a man who is working in the world. So Krishna has mentioned the acts of bhakti which don't really have anything to do with working in the world. So what type of bhakti Arjuna should perform? That is being asked here. Or answered in 927 and 928. But because I wanted to do a short class, because I have to return to this thing upstairs, maybe I'll stop here and take the answer to this question in the next class when the students are here, the students for whom I'm doing this actual class for. Are there any other follow-up questions, though, from what we've discussed? Yes.
The Jnana Yoga.
Yes.
Would you say that it is similar to what the idea of Shiva is? So it's like being a yogi and the complete detachment from any existence and just knowing that you're a soul and eventually lifetimes over lifetimes. And that concept seems right.
Yeah.
But again, I think I'm in a place where I'm kind of know what is the right path for a spiritual growth.
Yes. I don't know the details of the Shiva thing that you're mentioning exactly, but it sounds very similar. The idea of total detachment from the world, which includes family and friendship, society, love. It includes detachment from our cell phones and our social media and all of that. And and kind of total absorption in the Atman. That I am self, I am different from this world, and a sort of callousness towards the world, knowing that this is kind of just like if you were dreaming and you realize that you were dreaming. They call it lucid dream. So then how do you act when you know that you're dreaming? How do you act towards the dream personalities? Suppose some dream personality is talking to you, but you know it is a dream. Then how do you act towards that person? You don't even care because it is a dream only. And it's not even meaningful. So this sort of realization may be likened to something like that. I mean, we have no context of that experience just yet, but you may, for them, it is like a conscious awakening to the true self. And this world is something like a dream. It is temporary and ultimately superficial, illusory. So they become very callous towards everything material, even family and all that. This is all part of the illusory world. So, like I said, even if someone has an attraction to this idea, to get adhikar for this is very difficult.
So do you feel like it's going to be dangerous to go on that path in Kali Yuga, since like the person would just kind of do nothing in general and like almost like
yeah, it's dangerous. Your question is dangerous for someone to try to take up this path?
What I mean is, like, as what I understood is in Bhakti Yoga, it's still a service, so it's like existing in the material world, but using this body and materiality to the service. But
Yes.
Jnana Yoga is more just like just existing and doing nothing.
Yeah, they don't exactly do nothing, but anyway, the answer to your question is yes, it's dangerous. So Krishna himself, we've heard earlier in our study of Bhagavad-Gita in chapter 5 particularly, Krishna is juxtaposing karma yoga and jnana yoga next to each other. Actually, Krishna doesn't really appreciate jnana yoga too much in Bhagavad-Gita. So he kind of ridicules it somewhat in Bhagavad-Gita. And one of his criticisms is that it's dangerous because it's very hard to maintain that level of detachment. So there may be some defect that comes along. A defect means you again awaken some sort of attraction to something material, and then you get lost. It is also dangerous, again, sticking to the same topic that we've been describing here. If you don't have adhikar, this word adhikar, you should remember. Adhikar means eligibility or qualification. So when Krishna speaks to Uddhava, and I've been quoting Krishna's talks with Uddhava, Sway Sway Adhikaraya Nishta Saguna Parikirtita. So Krishna says that to be adhikara nishta, fixed according to your eligibility, this is a good quality. This is called this piety, or this is good. And just opposite of that, viparya, opposite of that means being fixed but not according to your eligibility, is a fault, dosha. This is a fault. So in Kali Yuga, this problem is there a lot, that people try to become fixed for things they don't have adhikar for. So in regards to this Gyan Marga, particularly, since that's the questions that are coming, like I said, it's very hard to get this qualification, even in older times when proper paths for getting that qualification were established. In Kali Yuga, there are no living traditions of Gyanis. There's no living tradition of Karma Yoga, which is traditionally understood as the method for getting that qualification. So if you try to practice something like that without adhikar, that's very dangerous. It is a fault. Just like someone may say, like I mentioned, the girl, you break up with the girlfriend or boyfriend. You say, what is existence? What is life? I leave everything. I detached. This is when I mentioned this story several times, but when I was 17 years old, I moved to New York briefly for a dance thing. And one of my roommates, he had just broken up with his girlfriend of 7 years. So he said, what is this existence? Sounding like a pure devotee bhajan or something. What is this Maya? Like this. So he probably gave up eating. He would just sleep most of the day or just lie in the bed all day, not doing anything. He would get up just to go to the bathroom 3 times. So I remember I was a 17-year-old boy. I was very bewildered by this. So I asked my cousin, he was also one of my roommates. I said, why is so-and-so like this? He said, because he just broke up with his girlfriend of 7 years. So I said, why doesn't he just get another one? Like, what's the big deal? Like, I can't understand what I mean, that's the program, right? You break up, you get another one. And he said, well, that was his first true love. He said, you'll know when you fall in love. And I said, if that's the conclusion of love, then I don't want to fall in love. Better I not fall in love. So, of course, he was renouncing to some degree externally, but he did not have adhikar for that. So what happened was after a month and a half, again, our friends convinced him to go to the bar. And then after some time, he found some other girl. And good. So you don't have, to be fixed in something you don't have eligibility for is a fault. And it causes a degradation of the self. So for this, we see this thing come up in the criticism of religious cultures today, wherein you see like the Catholic tradition, or any tradition for that matter. Our own ISKCON history is also not so nice, where people had this, they took up a renounced position, but they didn't have adhikar for that. They didn't have eligibility for that. So later on, it was discovered that they were, had problems, with children and all these sorts of things come up. So it's very dangerous when you try to be fixed on something that you don't have qualification for. So it is. So your question is it dangerous? It's dangerous for many reasons, but one main reason that we're mentioning is that in Kali Yuga, it is very hard for people to get eligibility for these things genuinely. For bhakti, it's very easy to get eligibility in one sense. Krishna bhakti jama mula haya sadhu sangha. So the root cause of the eligibility for Krishna bhakti is sadhu sangha. So you meet some nice devotee sadhus, or they may not be sadhu, but they may just be a devotee, like me. I'm a devotee. But not a sadhu. You meet some proper sadhu, devotional sadhu, then they speak, and they're attractive how they speak, how they exist. So by hearing them speak Shastra, you get what is called the Shraddha. Shraddha means Shastra Shraddha, faith in the devotional scriptures. And with that faith, Shraddha Makatasu, Krishna said, this is the eligibility for Bhakti Yoga. You have Shraddha and hearing my kata. That is the only primary qualification for Bhakti Yoga. And you're not too attached, or you're not too detached. Again, if you're too attached, then you're going to be absorbing material energy. You're not going to be serving. If you're too detached, you won't use the things in this world that are meant for Krishna Seva. So in Bhakti Yoga, not too attached, not too detached, and mostly your attraction is to hear about Bhagavan. So this adhikar anyone can get is not very difficult. And Krishna has also glorified this in Bhagavad-Gita itself, isn't it? Earlier in chapter 4, when he talks about Janma Karma Chame Devyame Vamyo Vetitatuta Takta Deham Punarjama Naitima Metiso Arjuna. So he says, just by hearing his stories, which give accounts of his Janma Karma, Chame Devyam, Janma means his birth or appearance in this world, and Karma means his activities. They are Divyam, they are transcendental spiritual. Evam Yo Vetitatuta, if you can understand that in truth, by hearing from sadhu. And Taktva Deham Punarjama Naitima Metiso Arjuna. When you quit this body, you can go to the place of no return, just become liberated. So the whole goal of these Gyan Mark paths is to get moksha or liberation. So Krishna is saying that is easily accomplished in some ways simply by hearing his stories. So where, again, as I mentioned earlier, whereas in Kali Yuga, these other paths have been crippled by the age itself. Practically, there are no living traditions of these systems. And to get qualification for them is very hard, practically impossible in this age of Kali. But because, as I mentioned, Bhakti Yoga is itself a transcendental process, so it's not actually crippled by the age, it still functions. And simply by hearing the stories, you can get moksha. If your goal was the same goal as the Gyanis, you want moksha, total detachment from the world so you can get moksha. And that is accomplished simply by hearing the stories of Krishna. So who is that person that would want to just do that? Hear the stories of Krishna. Someone imagines to themselves, I like that harder path though, it seems more rigorous. No, bruh, you're not going to be able to even do nothing with that except degrade your soul. So who is that person that would not be attracted? Suppose I say, in order to get liberation, You have to do something very difficult, like an obstacle course. I don't know, something like, what's a really difficult obstacle? Like climb from the bottom of this building to the top of the building just by rope. Does that sound very attractive? It's also dangerous, right? You might get midway there and start feeling weak. You're like, I'm feeling weak. Then you're in great difficulty. It was like, if we're at the top, we can't help you. Those at the bottom, they also can't help you. No, keep going. And you try to go, you fall, you die. So that's one method. Or another method here is you walk inside the building, there are elevators there, and you hit 6th floor and you walk up to the roof. So who is that intelligent person that will take the rope up and not the elevator? Or who is that intelligent person who would not do that, rather I should say? Who would, or you could say it both ways. Who is that intelligent person who would take the rope up and not the elevator? Only a fool would do that. So in Kali Yuga, since adhikar for these other paths is practically impossible. So our teachers taught like this. So you take bhakti mark. What is the difficulty? Simply you hear the stories of Bhagavan and you can get liberation. And all the detachment that the Gyanis get, that also comes with bhakti yoga. So there's big system there. Bhakti paresha anubhavo viraktir amnyatra chaishatri ekakala. If you make progress in bhakti, prapadyama yatashna tashus. Then it says 3 things happen if you progress in bhakti yoga path. The first thing that happens is bhakti, you get more bhakti. The second thing, paresha anubhava, means you get realization of the Lord. And the third thing is virakti, you get detachment from material things, but a sort of appropriate attachment. In the same way that a person who is engaged in eating, he gets nourishment, satisfaction, and freedom from hunger. So this is also, all the gifts offered by these other paths are included within bhakti path. So who is the intelligent person in this age of Kali, having heard all these points, who would not take up bhakti yoga path? You understand what I'm saying? Someone, only a fool who will say, I prefer to take the road. All right. Bring me my popcorn. And it's going to be an interesting show. As we stand from the, I'll be at the top because I'm going to take the elevator. And I'm going to be enjoying my popcorn. You can be like, help, help, help. Sorry, bro. Should have took the elevator. But you were too foolish. Manda Matayo, you stupid intelligence. Kali Yuga helped you out with that one. Manda Matayo means the intelligence is spoiled by the age itself. So you decided to take the rope up like a fool. And now you will fall to your doom. Yes.
So in Bhakti Yoga, it's basically using the balance of prayers and sitting together, hearing about
Sure.
and performing what you want for your duties, your responsibilities. How does one find a guru?
Yes, it's a big question. How does one find a guru? Anyway, we have to explain briefly because it could be a big question. The famous verse that is quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam to kind of elaborate on this idea. Tasma gurum prapadyeta jignasu shreya uttama. Shabdaparecha nishnatam brahmani upashamashrayam. First of all, we have to see if we are eligible for guru. Same point, eligibility. Not everyone needs a guru, actually. This is a remarkable point. Only a certain type of person needs a guru. So the word tasmat means therefore. The context of this tasmat is that a person who realizes the futility of earthly and celestial enjoyment. Usually the thing that blocks spiritual development is attracted to enjoying the material world. But once you've caught on that that is actually empty, there's nothing in that. This is called, after understanding that, tasma. Therefore, after understanding that, guru prapadyeta, then you need a guru. Because in other words, you're completely jaded with anything that the world of matter has to offer you. Otherwise, if you're not jaded with that, or seeing the emptiness of it, then why do you need a guru? Simply you will go to guru and argue with him, because you're still attracted to the material world. So the guru will be saying so many messages about detachment, this and that. You're like, you become agitated, actually. You will challenge your guru in the middle of a lecture. I disagree with you, actually. Because you're so attracted to enjoying the material world. First, that adhikar should be there, that actually this material enjoyment is not there, it's empty. Now I'm jaded. Now I need something to fill the void, having discovered the emptiness of material enjoyment. So there, Guru Prapadita didn't take shelter of a guru that time. Jignasu Shreya Uttama, and you should ask questions. Shreya Uttama. Basically, Shreya Uttama means you inquire about your highest potential as a jiva. So someone also asked me this question recently. Similar question to yours, how to find guru and what is the most important thing in relationship with the guru. So one of my answers there is the most important thing you have, or the currency of exchange between guru and disciple, from the disciple side, is questions, your inquiry. What type of questions you have? Now you realize the material world is empty, so what's your question? Well, what is the purpose of life? Who am I? How do I achieve that purpose of life? These sorts of questions, existential questions. Not what happened in the last season of Game of Thrones. That is not a very spiritual question. So if you're only interested in those questions, you don't need a guru for that. There's so many YouTube channels dedicated for solving those questions. But when you have the existential question, who am I? Why am I suffering? What is the goal of life? How to come out of this problem? Then you will need a guru. And you see, this is empty. I will not pursue this anymore. So I take shelter guru. I will pose these questions to guru. So this is the qualification of a disciple. So after you have that qualification, then the qualification of the guru is mentioned. Shabda pare chanishnatam. So Shabda means the Shastra, and Pare means like the transcendence. Chanishnatam. Nishnatam means like fully bathed. Like the Guru is fully bathing an awareness of the Shastra and awareness of the transcendence. Well, how do you know? Brahmani Upashamashrayam. You get indication that such a personality is free from worldly passion. Like lust, anger, and greed, and so on. I mean, you have to spend some time with the guru to see that. So therefore, traditionally, at least I've seen in some of our scripture, Hari Bhakti Vilas, before disciple and guru used to live together for some time. 1 year minimum. That's what I've seen mostly. They minimum, so the guru can study disciple. The disciple can also look at the guru. In one place I saw 3 years. Anyway, some period of time is given for study. The guru wants to see if this fellow is really through with material pursuit and see what the questions are. And the disciple is also saying how the guru is answering questions and doubts based on Shastra, based on his own transcendental experience. So there's qualification for guru. Now, obviously, as a person who is in ignorance, that is ourselves, who are not yet fully enlightened, you cannot be 100% positive. This is only an indication of what can help you come close to finding a bona fide guru. So first you have to look at your own heart. What is it that you're after? And you see the guru is knowing Shastra. He's able to clear my doubts. That is very important. Sri Vishwanath says unless the guru can clear the doubts, then the disciple will not be able to place faith. And the disappointed disciple may go away also. So guru has to remove doubts. And you see he's free from worldly passions and so on. Still, you have to pray also, some prayers there, that you are genuine and that you get in contact with genuine guru. Prabhupada, our teacher in the Science of Self-Realization, he says no one can ultimately be cheated. So if you've been cheated, that means you have some cheating desire in your heart, so you got a cheating guru. So you have to examine your own motivations, and Shastra is giving some indication of how you might do that by saying, first see the emptiness of worldly attachment and so on. And then it's likely that you can get a bona fide teacher. I always say, if you have the right questions, it's almost impossible that you can be cheated. Most people get cheated because they don't have proper questions. They just like, oh, the guru smiled at me. Oh, he led a rack in kirtan, therefore he must be my guru. I'm like, bro, what questions do you have? Like, what is your desire for spiritual life? And then you should ask those questions and see if the guru can remove your doubts about them. Not that he just smiled at me or he like patted me on the head and therefore he's my guru. Now, I'm not saying there's nothing to that. I was reading Dhruva Maharaj Leela, and Narada Muni simply touched Dhruva Maharaj's head. And the touch in the Shastra says, I forget the Sanskrit, but it was mentioned that the touch of Narada Muni's hand has the power to remove all sin. Just his touch. And there's a verse from 1st Canto, chapter 19. Yeshams Teshams Sansmaranat Punsan Salyo. I have to look this verse up. This verse is too good. So if the verse is too good, it must be. Huh? Hang on. This verse is too good. This is context is Parikshit Maharaj. In one sense, looking for his guru. So Shukadeva Goswami appears as guru. And he begins to glorify the power of such a personality. So he says, yes, this verse. Yes, Yesham Sansmaranat Punsan Sadhya Shudyanti Vaikriha. Simply by remembering a person like you, our houses are at once purified. What to speak of the people in the house? The house itself is purified just by remembering you. Kempunar Darshana Sparsha Pada Shocha Asana Adibihi. What to speak of seeing you, touching you, washing your feet, offering you a seat, etc. So there's something to that also. I don't want to totally ridicule like you get touched by a personality and you feel something profound from that. That's also, there's something to that. But the main currency is that you have some questions about spirit and the Guru is able to answer those questions. So if you have those questions, it's almost impossible for you to be cheated. Because the Guru has to not only remove doubts, but instill faith in the reality. That's not an ordinary thing. So anyone who's able to do that, practically that person is Guru manifest. So it's a big topic, but this is a little summary. So a lot of talk about eligibility today. Yeah. So I'll stop there. This is much longer than I intended, but since you were asking such nice questions, and I appreciate you for that. Thank you. But we'll have to take up the Bhagavad-Gita subject matter on Monday, our next Bhagavad-Gita class. So, Hari Om Tat Sat. Thanks a lot. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thank you. Very well.